You are not invisible. Actually, it's the opposite. Men notice you fast, and that confuses you. They compliment you. They move closer. They want your attention, your body, your energy, your listening. At first, it feels promising. Constant texts, unspoken plans, a false sense of being chosen. Then something shifts. They grow cold. They pull away, without a clear explanation. And you do what you always do. Replay every conversation. Look for the mistake in yourself. Wonder what you lacked. But here's the truth no one told you. They don't leave because you're too much. They leave because you give too much, too soon. And that changes everything. So the question that keeps you awake is simple. If they want you so badly at the beginning, why are they always the first to walk away? You are not overreacting. You're not being dramatic. What keeps happening to you follows a pattern, and that pattern has a name. According to Eric Fromm, many people learn to love by trying to be needed. You're not looking for connection. You're looking for emotional safety, and you do it unconsciously. At some point in your story, love became effort. Staying became something to earn. Being chosen became performance, and being left became fear. So you learned to adapt, to listen more than you speak, to give more than you ask, to offer before receiving. You don't do this out of obvious neediness. You do it through misdirected emotional intelligence. You read people quickly and shape yourself to avoid loss, but the effect is cruel. You become too comfortable to desire, too predictable to commit to, too available to be valued. This doesn't mean you lack worth. It means you learn to prove your worth, and those who must prove it are rarely chosen to stay. Here's the relief that changes everything. You are not broken. You are repeating without realizing it. And repetition is not destiny. This didn't start recently, and it doesn't end with blame. It ends with awareness, and awareness hurts before it frees you. You think you choose better now, more aware, more mature, more careful, but the ending repeats. The name changes, the face changes, the pain stays. They arrive looking different, attentive at first, interested in your stories, curious about your mind. You relax, you believe, you lower your guard. Again. You don't choose bad men. You choose unavailable men, confused men, wounded men, men who love beginnings but can't sustain the middle or commit to the end. Never. Without realizing it, you step into an old role, the one who understands everything, the one who waits, the one who endures. You become shelter, you become comfort, you become pause, never home. You give depth too early, share pain, reveal fears, show scars, create intimacy fast, without structure, without time, without foundation. They feel special, seen, validated, desired, comfortable, safe, but not responsible, never responsible. Here's the invisible point. You don't demand presence. You compensate absence, fill silences, excuse failures, normalize crumbs, and call it love. But it isn't. What you call love is survival. Fear of losing before truly having, fear of being left, like before, like always. So you give more to avoid being discarded. The cycle closes quietly. They receive care, they receive validation, they receive attention, and they move on, without guilt, without weight, without you. And here's where the truth hurts. This didn't start now. It started when you learned that love meant adapting, that staying had to be earned, that asking was risky, that waiting was loving, and you still believe that. If this truth hit you, it's because you're not here by accident. You're waking up to patterns that once controlled you in silence. This channel exists for that, to help you understand your pain without shame and turn awareness into direction. Subscribe now, not out of curiosity, but out of commitment to yourself. Because when you understand your pattern, you stop repeating your pain. You start feeling tired. Not from work, not from routine. Tired of explaining yourself, tired of waiting for signs, tired of holding relationships alone, tired of looking strong while feeling empty inside. Loneliness doesn't arrive suddenly. It settles in slowly. Even when you're accompanied, even when desired, even when touched, you miss something. It's not someone, it's belonging. You begin to doubt yourself, your worth, your timing, your way of loving. You wonder if you expect too much, feel too much, ask too much, always too much. So you try to compensate. You give more, adapt more, wait more, tolerate more, lower your boundaries, silence your needs, to avoid losing. Little by little, you abandon yourself. You don't notice at first. It's subtle. You stop asking, stop confronting, stop choosing, stop feeling anger, and it costs you. The emptiness grows, even with texts, even with dates, even with vague promises. You feel an inner hole. Nothing fills it, nothing holds, nothing stays. Loneliness becomes identity. You start believing that you were born this way, that love means suffering, that staying is rare, that being chosen is luck, not a right, and this shapes everything. Then comes the false solution. Love more, understand more, please more. Close yourself off, pretend indifference, build walls. None of it works, because the more you adjust, the more you lose your truth, the more you shut down, the further you drift from yourself, the more you please, the less you are seen, and the more you endure, the more you break. And here is the quiet point. This pain is not bad luck, not lack of love. It's consequence of a repeated pattern, without awareness, without pause, until now. Healing doesn't begin when someone stays. It begins when you stop begging for presence, when you realize too much effort is a sign, not of love, but of imbalance. And that's scary, because it requires loss of illusions. The first action is simple, but uncomfortable. You stop explaining yourself, stop justifying absence, stop filling silences. You watch actions, not promises, not words. You learn to wait for response, without anticipating, without chasing, without fixing awkward energy. Those who want to stay sustain presence. Those who want to leave create excuses. And it's not personal, it's revealing. The second action is even harder. You set real boundaries, not emotional threats. Quiet boundaries, consistent ones. You step away when something hurts. You don't over-argue. You don't beg for adjustment. You start leaving early, before losing yourself, before shaping yourself, before shrinking. You walk away from what hurts, even when you want to stay, even when you're afraid, even when alone. This creates a new kind of emptiness, strange, quiet, without drama, without intensity, without external validation, but with something different, uncomfortable peace. In that space, you meet yourself again. You see how often you abandoned yourself, how much you negotiated limits, how often you confused attraction with connection. You begin listening inward, without rush, without audience, without urgency. Wrong men begin to disappear, not because you changed your words, but because you changed posture. You don't adapt so easily now. You don't give yourself so early. You don't explain so much, and that filters everything. Some leave quickly, others never arrive, and that hurts the ego, but protects the soul, because now the absence of another doesn't dismantle you, doesn't define you, doesn't break you. Here's the quiet shift. You're not learning how to keep someone, you're learning how to hold yourself, without crumbs, without proof, without emotional performance, and that changes the game, even before someone appears. Hey, if you got distracted, come back now. Pay attention. This is the most important part. Don't skip it. Don't rationalize it. Don't defend yourself. Stay. You spent your life thinking the problem was loving too much, or choosing wrong, or trusting too soon. But the real pain was never that. It was trying to be chosen, when God had already seen you. Before any man, before any abandonment, God didn't enter your story to comfort you after the damage. He was present during the pattern, watching every time you shrank yourself, every time you accepted crumbs, every time you mistook silence for mystery and absence for depth. He saw it all, and he didn't leave. There is a kind of loneliness that isn't punishment. It's invitation, an invitation to stop, to quiet outside voices, to untangle inner confusion, to listen deeper, to something that doesn't compete, something that stays. The Bible doesn't promise everyone will stay, but it promises support. Above all else, guard your heart. Proverbs doesn't speak of hardening. It speaks of protecting the source, because when you protect the source, you stop drinking poison. Even when you're thirsty, God didn't take love from you. He removed illusion, the illusion that you needed to be desired to have value, that you had to shape yourself to be chosen. That abandonment defines destiny. None of that comes from him. Never did. Never will. He heals the brokenhearted. It doesn't say he prevents the break. It says he enters after, with patience, with presence, with rebuilding, from the inside out, without rush. Maybe this season isn't about finding someone. Maybe it's about alignment, about relearning how to stay with yourself, with God, without emotional performance, without fear of silence, without bargaining your soul. When you stop begging for human love, you begin to notice something strange, a calm strength, a steady peace, an identity that doesn't swing. You don't feel complete, but you feel whole, and that changes everything. Faith doesn't erase your pain, it gives it meaning. It shows that this emptiness isn't lack of love, it's space being prepared for something more true, more stable, more aligned. And you start to feel it, even without understanding it all. And here is the most important silence. Maybe God isn't keeping someone away from you. Maybe he's protecting you from repeating. Maybe he's teaching you how to stay before allowing someone to stay. And when this settles, you stop chasing and you start trusting. You don't wake up healed, you wake up aware, and that changes everything. You feel the lack, but you don't chase anymore. You feel the silence, but you don't humiliate yourself. You feel desire, but you don't disappear. You understand something simple. Staying isn't a reward. It's a mutual choice. Presence isn't negotiable. Reciprocity isn't begged for. And love isn't proven. It's either sustained or it's not love. Loneliness doesn't vanish. It changes function. From punishment to filter. It removes what's wrong, protects what matters, strengthens your identity. Quietly, you stop romanticizing absence. Stop confusing intensity with connection. Stop calling anxiety love. Now you observe, breathe, wait, and trust actions, not promises. Your energy shifts, your gaze changes, your time changes. You no longer offer everything. You offer conscious presence, whole, without desperation, without fear of loss. Some people feel this and walk away. Others try to test you, but can't stay. Because you don't bend anymore. You don't shrink, you don't explain, you remain. And those who arrive now, arrive differently, without rush, without games, without confusion, because you accept no less. Not from pride, but from self-respect. You finally understand. God wasn't denying you love. He was sparing you repetition of pain. He was maturing you inside, so you wouldn't bleed later. What wasn't healed before? This wasn't delay, it was preparation. The story doesn't end with someone staying. It ends with you staying, with yourself, with your truth, with your faith, with your awareness. That is redemption, quiet but permanent. And here is the final pause. Maybe they left because they were never the destination. Maybe abandonment was protection. Maybe now you're ready, not to be chosen, but to choose. And that changes your future. If this message resonated with you, subscribe now to our channel. Here, you won't hear empty advice or easy promises. You'll understand your pain, your patterns, and what God is building quietly within you. This space is for those tired of repeating painful stories and ready to grow inward before choosing outward. If you made it to the end of this video, comment, "I choose awareness." When you declare this, something aligns within you. Scripture says, "Those who seek understanding find favor." May this mark the beginning of a new cycle. More aware, more protected, more true.